When you look at the world's problems, do you imagine what it would be like to solve them if you only had just a little bit of money? Do you look at Elon Musk as he's trying to change the world through his electric cars and his reusable rockets?
But you're probably someone who grew up with a lot of problems yourself. You saw a lot of things around you that you wanted to fix, and probably you have a solution too. But unfortunately, you're not a billionaire. So it begs the question, do you need to be a billionaire to save the world?
Now, I was asking these questions too when I looked like this. Because during my childhood, we were going through some turbulent times in this sad excuse of a country named Pakistan.
Helicopters were forced to airlift the Sri Lankan cricket team from a stadium in eastern Pakistan.
Suicide bombings, inflation, gang violence, political instability, and borderline poverty were among the things that we were struggling with.
But as a child, I always wanted to find the solutions to these problems. I wanted to know how I could fix this world. But when I looked around and asked my adults, they had no answers. And as I got older, I realized the fact that my only mission in life is to give my younger self the guidance and the formula to save the world. So he doesn't waste time trying to ask questions, trying to find the answers to all these complicated questions, and he can just get down to just working and getting down to just saving the world, starting sooner than I had the chance to do so. So what does this journey of saving the world look like when you do have a lot of money?
It all starts with an idea. The idea helps make a company or a product that the masses can adopt. You have a grand opening, a huge launch, and then you market and advertise it to as many people as possible. And that could go two ways. It could bang, or it could go bust.
And just on the last step, the marketing, you're looking at millions and millions of dollars of advertisement campaigns, of billboards, of television commercials and everything. And these are millions of dollars that you remember you don't have. So what is the solution? Well, the solution is that you become a superhero. If you haven't seen my previous video, go watch it. It's called Can We Become Real Life Superheroes or something like that. And it goes into a lot more detail of what a concept of superhero is. But long story short, a superhero is someone who's able to see perspectives. And so you might be asking, okay, what does perspective have anything to do with my broke ass not being able to afford to help as many people as possible? Well, it's not about your perspective or the way that you see the world. It's about how other people see the world.
Let's take the example of a child living in Pakistan in terror, and other kids like him were in bad places. We're just looking for answers on how they can change their situation. So, becoming a superhero requires you to look into as much depth as possible the person's concerns, his pain points, his fears, and what he wants to be in life. See, you have to become him, see the world through his lens, walk on the street in his shoes, and then proceed to solving all the problems that you see in his life with your product.
So the answer lies not in the solutions which can save tons and tons of millions of people, but the answer lies in the solutions which can solve a problem for a very, very specific group of people. So for Mindscreen, for example, if I'm solving a problem for somebody, the solution may be relevant to only like 1,000 people in this world, but that 1,000 people are so important, as you shall soon find out.
If you have 1,000 true fans whose lives you've changed, and those fans buy everything from you, and say your product costs around $100, you've got yourself $100,000. Money you could use to help fund your project and to expand it even further.
And this is the importance of being hyper-specific with the problem that you're trying to solve. For these 1,000 people, you may be the only person who's trying to solve their problem. For them, you're their superhero because no one else can feel their pain apart from you. And so I get it. You may imagine like a bigger future, a grander future for yourself. You probably imagine yourself like helping millions of people, not just like these 1,000 people. But what if I told you that there was a way in which you could impact millions and millions of lives, but there was a road which you need to go through, and that road has a few checkpoints.
2012 was when Tesla came out with its first electric car, the Model S. It was the first cool electric car. But what was uncool was that it needed to be plugged into a socket instead of just rolling into a gas station.
Now, this type of technology is known as discontinuous technology because it cannot tap into an already existing infrastructure, in this case, a gas station. So how did this really impractical car become so mainstream? In order to understand that, we need to look at the technology adoption life cycle. Now, this is the graph which represents the technology adoption life cycle. It's dividing the population into 5 sections: the innovators, the early adopters, the early majority, the late majority, and the laggards. The innovator is someone who would have bought the car even if there were no superchargers around, because he is looking for that brilliant product that no one else has made so far. And he's part of your 1,000 true fans. He's like the ignition to your fuel. So when your product gets a little polished and the innovators, they start to spread the word about your product, another part of this population starts to take notice of your product. It's known as the early adopters. And the early adopters accept your product not because they're looking for some cool points, but because they're looking for something which has the potential to change the world. So the next part of the population, the early majority, when it starts to take notice of your product, it needs assurances in order to accept your product. So these assurances may include things like a warranty system, a really good customer service, a repair system, and all these things convince the early majority to accept your product, to accept your brilliant product. And once you sort of put your foot through the door of the early majority, then your product is basically open to potentially changing the lives of millions and millions of people. So congratulations, you've changed the lives of millions of people and you didn't even need $1 billion. And you just started off with just like a small niche. So the key takeaway from this video is you don't need to think big. You need to think really small if you want to change the whole world. So throughout the video, if you were wondering what happened to my shoulder, I just had like a motorcycle accident. It was a small accident, so I just got like a hairline fracture. I'll be good. I'm just like feeling a lot better because I'm making videos again. And so I'm sorry I was gone for a while. Mindscream was made with a purpose. And the purpose was to increase the consciousness of society so we can love each other more. And if you feel like you're the sort of person who resonates with this idea, then please subscribe. And if you want to watch the Superheroes episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe, just click here. Thank you. I'll see you next week, hopefully.